It was just another rainy Thursday evening when James Whittaker walked into the quaint diner at the corner of Maple and 6th. The bell above the door jingled as he stepped inside, shaking off his wet umbrella. The place smelled of fresh coffee, grilled cheese, and something sweet, probably cinnamon rolls. James, a 37-year-old single dad, had just picked up his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, from piano lessons. She clutched her pink stuffed bunny in one hand and her dad's calloused palm in the other. They sat at their usual booth by the window, the one with the slightly wobbly table leg and the view of the flickering neon sign outside. It was tradition, Thursday night dinner at Daisy's Diner. Lily loved the pancakes with smiley faces, and James appreciated the comfort of something familiar in a world that had shifted dramatically since his wife passed away 2 years ago. James had grown used to noticing the small things. Maybe it was a part of being a parent, or maybe it was grief sharpening his senses. But tonight, something was off. Their waitress, a young woman in her mid-20s named Mia, greeted them with her usual warmth, but James noticed her hands were trembling as she poured coffee. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, and there was a tightness in her voice, like she was forcing every word to sound normal. "Daddy, why does the lady look sad?" Lily asked innocently, tugging on his sleeve. James glanced back at Mia, who was wiping a perfectly clean table with frantic energy. Her eyes darted to the door every few seconds, and once, she flinched when a man in a leather jacket walked in. Something in James' chest tightened. He didn't know Mia well, just enough to exchange pleasantries and thank her for the extra whipped cream she always added to Lily's cocoa. But now, he saw the fear beneath her surface. Over the course of the meal, James observed more signs. A bruise on her wrist she tried to hide with her sleeve. The way her shoulders hunched every time a tall man passed by the diner windows. And then, there was the phone call. James saw her answer her cell in the corner, whisper something like, "Please don't come here," before she quickly ended the call, her face pale. He felt a protective surge rise within him, the same instinct he had when Lily fell off her bike or cried in her sleep. But this was different. This was another human being clearly in distress. And in that moment, James made a decision. He couldn't stay silent. When Mia came to drop off the check, James looked up and asked gently, "Are you okay?" She blinked. For a moment, her mask slipped. Her eyes filled with tears, and she shook her head almost imperceptibly. James handed her a napkin. On it, he had written, "If you're in danger, nod your head. I will help you. You are not alone." She read it. Looked at him. And then, she nodded. What followed was a chain of events that none of the regulars in Daisy's Diner would ever forget. James calmly asked to speak to the manager, and within minutes, they discreetly moved Mia to the back of the kitchen. He then called the police and relayed everything he had observed. Within 15 minutes, the man in the leather jacket reappeared. He walked straight to the counter, asking for Mia. His tone was cold. Possessive. James watched, his heart pounding, but he remained calm. "She's not here," the manager said. "And we'd like you to leave." The man grew agitated. That's when the sirens came. Red and blue lights reflected through the rain-soaked windows. The officers entered, and after a tense few moments, arrested the man. Mia later confirmed he was her ex-boyfriend, who had been stalking and threatening her for months. The entire diner fell into silence once the man was escorted out. Mia emerged from the kitchen, visibly shaken but safe. When her eyes met James, she burst into tears. "I didn't think anyone would notice," she whispered. "I thought I had to handle it alone." James shook his head. "No one should ever feel that way. You matter. Your safety matters." Lily, ever the empath, walked over and hugged Mia around the waist. "You can sit with us next time," she said with a bright smile. "My daddy makes people feel better." The story quickly spread throughout town. A local newspaper picked it up. Headlines read, Single father saves waitress from dangerous stalker. But James didn't want recognition. He only hoped others would do the same if they noticed someone in trouble. Weeks passed. Mia took time off, got a restraining order, and found a safe place to stay. But she never forgot James and Lily. One Thursday evening, she returned to Daisy's, not as a waitress, but as a friend. She carried a small gift, a keychain with the words, "You are not alone." "For you," she said to James. "To remind you of what you did for someone who felt invisible." James accepted it, eyes misty. "You weren't invisible. You just needed someone to see you." The diner buzzed again with warmth, laughter, and the clinking of coffee cups. But in that little booth by the window, something had changed forever. A life was saved, a heart was healed, and a little girl learned that kindness is a superpower anyone can have. Sometimes, the smallest signs carry the loudest cries for help. And the quiet courage of one person can become the turning point in someone else's life. Never underestimate the power of paying attention, and acting with kindness.